David Koechner is an actor and comedian that you know from so many different roles over the years. As far as the stand-up is concerned, he's going to be here at Cap City Comedy Club in the Domain over the weekend. One show on Thursday, August 17th. 2 shows on Friday the 18th. 2 more shows on the 19th. And The Office Trivia with Todd Packer on Saturday afternoon. To snag the few tickets that remain for any of those shows, to find out more info, go to capcitycomedy.com. David, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
We are here. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. It's great to talk to you. You doing okay today?
Yeah. It's just been a busy day, and then my middle son hurt his arm, so I had to take him to the doctor.
Is everything okay?
Oh yeah, it's nothing major. It's not a break or anything. I'll find out, within an hour, but it's fine.
Cool. Well, on this end, it's been a busy day too. It was my kid's first day of school. I've got an 8 or soon to be 9, soon to be 7-year-old. So on the one hand, it was nice because I'm getting him out of the house for a couple of hours a day. But on the other hand, there's a whole new set of challenges that comes with getting little humans who aren't quite capable of taking care of themselves ready to go at 6:30 in the morning,
Oh, you're leaving the house at 6:30?
Well, we really get the getting ready, making breakfast, and getting out of the house by 7. We take a 10 to 15 minute walk to school after that.
Oh,
but
wow.
yeah,
That's nice.
Some days I wish their school started at, I don't know, like 10 o'clock, but you suck it up and make it happen, right?
But they're at the same school, right?
They are at the same school, thankfully. Yeah.
That's a blessing. My younger ones are at 3 different schools.
Okay, so you have a starting basketball team on your hands. So you're in high school, middle school, and then elementary school too?
We're post-college. Twins are seniors, and Eve is 7th grade.
Okay, so you're past the elementary school stage of things. Is it nicer as the kids get older and more self-sufficient?
Well, Eve is still elementary. She's 7.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they don't call that junior high at her school. Yes, I always say the day to look forward to is the day they can buckle themselves in the car seat.
Yeah, that's a good day. And the day that they no longer need a booster too. They can hang out with you in the front seat, right?
Yeah. I mean, looking back, the day they can snap their thing in the car seat, huge win.
Because it's one less thing that you're having to worry about before turning the ignition and getting the car going.
Well, that was always the fight, right?
One of. I don't know how fiercely independent your kids have been since they were younger, but my soon-to-be 9-year-old daughter, I mean, she's too smart for her own good. I mean, she's about to be 9 going on 19. And one of the things that I'm trying to explain to her right now, David, is that it's not only is it okay to say I don't notice something, it's actually the smartest answer you can possibly give if you don't actually know what's going on versus faking like you do, because inevitably that'll be seen through.
Oh, when they ask you a question?
That or they pipe in. Like there's sometimes that my wife and I are talking and she'll be like, oh, this. Like, what the hell? You have no idea about how to fix a car. You're not even 9 years old yet. Don't act like you understand where the carbonator is.
I'm going to grab a water and I'll be right back.
Sure.
Now, after all these years, I finally come to recognize something. We think they're trying to exert on us. But if we say, oh, I'm glad you're interested, right? Because our desire is to teach them constantly and tell them what's right and wrong. Now, if we can change the paradigm, slow down, listen, and not correct them, ask them, I'm glad you're interested. Tell me more about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I'm thinking about it because one of my biggest problems as a parent is offering up unsolicited advice to my kids versus letting them try to figure out. But part of that probably is also what you just mentioned, which is really fostering and leaning into and embracing their interest, even if it manifests itself and them trying to tell you how things are.
Right. Well, so there's the battle because we're thinking I have to teach you all the time.
Yeah.
But really, they have to discover all the time. And they have an independent way of viewing the world. And if it's not life or death, I'm glad you're interested.
The reality also is that they need to be able to, in their interest in learning more about things and going through experiences themselves, they need to also fail in the process too, because that is how they ultimately learn far more than any piece of advice or any unsolicited advice that you can impart on them.
Agreed. And if you start noticing how often we tell them what to think, and they always have resistance in it, and we start asking them, what do you think?
How many kids did it take you to figure that out?
Well, I'm only getting there now. I didn't notice for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I look at it like this. So you're born with your mainframe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to start plugging it in your wires. But we give them the software to run. That's not their software.
Mm.
They develop their own software over time. And if you remember, Socrates taught by what? Asking questions.
Right.
Because when they give the answer, they learn. And we think we're imparting knowledge on them all the time. But what they're hearing is, you're trying to control my thought process.
Yeah.
Or not. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, our job is to make sure they're safe and they don't hurt anybody. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And we could even say, do you think that's safe? Would that hurt somebody? Rather than us telling them. Now, it's the hardest thing to do because we are already down the road on how we have organized how the control group is going to go, right?
Mm.
You're going to listen to me and you're going to do what I say. Right? That's our parental modus operandi.
Sometimes that's the path of least resistance to, unfortunately. I mean, even though you want to ask them questions and allow them to come to their own conclusions.
Well, let's take this. Let's take bedtime, right? Always a fight. What if you said early, hey, tell me how the bedtime process works? Right? You ask them.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, well, you make me do this. Okay, right. Well, what would you do? Right? So, do you think it's important to brush your teeth? So I'll let you decide when you want to do that. Now, the reason I'm asking you to go to bed at whatever it is, 8 or 9, is because it's important that you get a number of hours sleep. Right? So what do you think is a good time for you to brush your teeth, shut off your phone, do a little reading, and maybe I could read you a book? That was too many questions, but you know what I mean?
So just give them complete autonomy over a nightly situation.
Input, not autonomy. Input. So they come up with it. I like the way you think. Now, they might say, I want to stay up late. Guess what? Me too. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Do you think you'll be tired in the morning if you go to bed at 10? Probably. So why don't we, keep going to bed whenever we've said so and see how that works? Does that sound good? It's a paradigm shift, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You hear a lot about this in modern times, especially as it pertains to technology, of nudging people in a certain direction. It's using that psychological skill to help get your kids to kind of do what you want, but also to get them to come to that conclusion themselves and do it on their own.
Exactly. 100%.
So I'd ask if you've ever performed stand-up in Austin before, but I know you've performed stand-up in Austin before. You've performed at the old Cap City Comedy Club, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe a couple of other places too over time. Considering that you have performed comedy all over this country and probably around the world to varying degrees, is Austin someplace that you enjoy cutting it up on stage?
In general, I enjoy all of it. But let's face it, Austin's a cool town.
Yeah.
What's it going to be, 150 this weekend?
Dude, it is hell right now. My family and I was just in Colorado for a week last week, escaping the heat. And I mean, as soon as we landed the plane, you're going to get to go through this when you're flying in tomorrow. As soon as we landed the plane, you could feel it radiating through the airplane, how hot it was.
Yeah. So, you're just going to be indoors. I won't be exploring Austin.
No. Uber straight to the front door of a restaurant, not having to make the 50-step walk through a parking lot. I mean, that's a smart idea. And I don't think that you've been to the new Cap City before, too. As cool as the old Cap City was to perform in, it was in kind of an armpit part of the city. The new Cap City is in a really nice part of the town called the Domain. And the club itself, the Helium people came in and resurrected this club. And they have put on a top-notch effort just in terms of the overall setup, too. I speak with a lot of comedians. I don't always get to say this to them, though, but I bought tickets for your show a couple months ago. I'm excited to get back there. It's been several months at this point, and I've never actually seen your stand-up live before, so I'm looking forward to it, man.
Well, thank you. Outstanding. Has it got good freeway access and good parking?
The parking is actually a little bit hit or miss, but the good thing about the Domain, because most of the people walking around the Domain are somewhat used to these scorching temperatures, is there's a bunch of good restaurants around. There's good shopping right there too. So there are places for people to park where they can duck in and out of the air conditioning on their way to the club.
Is the Domain the mall area?
Yeah. It's like this big, you guys have these in California. It's this huge outdoor mall.
Yeah, the walking malls. What do you call those things? Fake towns. I'm sure
Yeah.
they have a name for it. I don't know what it's called, but whatever. Well, cool. All right.
How much a student of philosophy are you, David? This is some really valuable knowledge you just dropped a few minutes ago.
Well, I was a poli-sci major
At Mizzou, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then as an actor, it's your job to always investigate why we do what we do, right? And then how is that affected all of us? And the worst thing that's happened in the last 15 years is the cell phone.
Yep.
Right? It has separated us. It has divided us. Now, if it was just a cell phone, that'd be much different. But all these apps are the things that are controlling us. Now, do your kids have phones?
No, 8 and 6. And my plan, best laid plans, right, is for them not to have even like a cell phone that just makes phone calls and text messages until high school.
Oh, high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made the bad decision early. It was 11, not knowing what it was. It was just a way to be in touch. I didn't know I was going to jump to the computer, and then I had no way of knowing social media and what that would do.
You had no way of knowing either, by the way. It was sold as a completely different bill of goods. To your point, to stay in touch with them,
Little by little, Facebook seemed harmless. You're just connecting with friends, not knowing that people were using it as a way to get information, right? And then Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok, it's a menace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once the cat's out of the bag, it's very difficult to then rein them in and go, okay, here's what's happening. You get, a couple hours a day, then you shut it down, and I have access to all your screens. That's not going to happen. So I could go back to what I said, which would be, what do you think is a good amount of time? you should be on screens. First of all, do you think it really helps you? I know it's fun. Does it help you? What are you missing out in life? That kind of thing, right? Well, they're already shutting down because they don't want to listen to that conversation because they're addicted in a way, right?
I mean, these computer scientists have done a brilliant job of figuring out how to hack the dopamine reward systems in the brain. It's it's extremely messed up, but it's also brilliant at the same time. As much as I despise it, got to acknowledge that.
Yeah. So I guess the larger question would be, how do you feel when you start going through the app? And at what time do you start getting tired or frustrated? And then when you're done, how's it feel after? And it would be like, what other interests do you have?
Hmm.
You know, it's a delicate thing to get in there because they're hooked and they just want to do that thing. So,
Yeah,
it's dangerous, but here it is. It's hard, you can't necessarily get your arms around it. You can't ban it. So I guess you have to lead to a certain extent and come up with an agreement of what we think is healthy.
just like with everything else that is fun but potentially harmful for you, is trying to teach that point of moderation. And back to my 8-year-old, she figured out how to hack into our iPad several
Wow.
months ago. And we found out because we were opening the iPad before charging it for a vacation, because I won't say we let our guard down, but we loosened things a little bit on airplanes. Just, I mean,
Of
everybody's
course.
staring at the
Yeah.
screen on an airplane, so we'll let them do a little bit of that too, play games, watch movies, whatever else. We open this iPad up and realize this is how smart, not just my daughter, but a lot of kids are these days. She had started an email address and accounts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Zoom, Spotify. There's a couple of others too. And she had put her
Snapchat.
picture in a couple of these social media accounts also without realizing what was going on. So I didn't go bad cop necessarily. Like, she got in a little bit of trouble, but it was more like, look, you don't understand what you are volunteering over when you are getting onto these things. Your little brain, as smart as you are, you don't get the potential harm that you are bringing on yourself and this family by putting your information out there like that. She was scared that she was going to get kidnapped in the middle of the night for a couple of months, but hopefully the point made it through to her little brain in the process.
Were her accounts private?
No,
No.
no, public accounts.
Yeah, because they want to start getting friends and likes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's for those dopamine hits. Every
Yeah.
like, every comment, just it's very messed up. And the other problem with it, David, as you're probably well aware, is that as harmful as it is to a lot of people's psyches, not just kids, by the way, adults too, it's also discouraging people from just being present, just simply
100%.
being in the moment.
Well, yeah, or having individuality, or having priorities on what's important. Because what's important is, how many likes did I get? How many followers do I have? Right. And I guess there's that discussion to have. How many would make you happy? Or should this just be for friends to stay in touch? It's tough to get them to understand, because their opinion is, we don't know anything about it.
They're right in some cases. We
I
don't
don't
know a
know.
whole lot about it, but we know enough to understand that the net costs far outweigh the gains.
Yeah. It will eventually, uh, maybe become boring, or it might be something that they lose interest in. because it's just so exhausting. How long can you just go through TikTok and scroll and scroll and scroll? And like you said, that's the dopamine hit, you know? And is that important? What'd you learn? But they just feel like they're participating in a thing. I guess the question is, what difference does it make? Did that help your life today? You know, so we are in a rare place that has never before existed, where there are so many other people that have the ability to manipulate the entire population, and they've done it. And people are susceptible, and they're, saying these things are true. And so that's our job to go, do you know how information is confirmed?
Hmm.
And then there are, our desire is to tell them. That person that just said that, where'd they get their information? Are they a journalist? Do you know what a journalist is? Do you know what a journalist does? A journalist won't write something unless they have one or two people confirming it who were there at the time. Do you understand that? Now, do you think this kid that made this opinion was there and investigated it? Or does he just have an opinion? And everyone should. But an opinion is not a fact. Now, this is already, you've lost them, right, Eamon? Yeah, it's too long to say all that stuff. But I do wonder if there will be some time when it just becomes so exhausting that they don't care. So kids won't open a Facebook account. You know that?
Yeah.
Like my kids don't do Facebook, and they rarely do Instagram. The primary
is that
thing,
right?
Yeah. The primary thing is Snapchat,
Mm.
and then TikTok is a medium wherein they can feel like they have some influence. Go viral, make money. But after a while, they go, "Oh, that's just not possible." And I'm not, how willing am I to invest in something like that? I guess the thing you want to steer them to is, what are your best interests in TikTok? I'm not on TikTok, but I understand you can have lanes you like to look at that are educational or informational, right? Rather than just trying to look at what's popular. So I don't know. I don't look at it. I certainly don't do Snapchat. But they're not that interested on Instagram, and Facebook is a dinosaur they won't participate in.
I'm guessing Twitter probably falls somewhere between Instagram and Facebook.
None of them have Twitter.
Hmm.
I don't think it's going to work.
I'm thinking back to something you talked about a few minutes ago about whatever acting role that you're encountering, you always ask the question, why? To try and figure out the purpose of that character. Is there a character that comes to mind that was maybe difficult to come up with that answer that turned out to be really satisfying in the end from your career?
I've done mostly comedies.
Yeah.
And so the why for me is, how can I make this be alive and true to what the writing is, and then make sure I was able to do it comedically in a way that was revelatory. Surprise them. They didn't expect it. That also invites them to be curious, like, what else is going on there? It's not just a joke. There's a whole person. What's his life like? So if I can create an interesting mystery, if you will, about that person, where it's not just, oh, it's that, and you're just telling a joke, but you do have a life for that person that makes the audience go, what's his deal? Then I think I've done my job.
I was looking back at your IMDb today, and I know obviously a lot of people put a ton of focus on Champ Kind and Todd Packer, and you were brilliant in those roles. But I even think back to like secondary roles that you did in the movie Dirty Work. Rest in peace, Norm, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Sorry for your loss. I know it's been a couple of years, man, but that one stung. You played Anton Phillips in that movie, and you were a bad guy in the film, where ultimately the dead hookers are in the trunks of the cars on the used car lot that you were managing. Was that set a lot of fun to be on, considering that it was Norm, Artie, Chris Farley, although he may not have been in great shape, was on that one as well. Was that a pretty fun time for you?
Yeah, Bob Saget directed,
Yeah.
shot in LA. It's Norm's first film, Artie Lang. I don't know how well they knew each other, but that's a nice odd pairing.
Mm-hmm.
Norm, um, Norm's Norm. He's not going to be looking. He likes to react, right? He's not going to push his character like, what's that? But he also has such a unique delivery and approach that it's always interesting, right? So they're on a journey. I'm a guy that's a con man and I have secrets, right? So my thing is, I hope you don't discover what I've going on. You know, I'm just looking to make money. And clearly they put some, I don't want to spoil it, dead people in cars. And so they're going to get my comeuppance right there. Because, I'm controlling the situation and I think I'm going to get over on everybody. Right. And then when an immediate disaster happens and I can't control it, that's fun because I'm a bad guy and I'm getting my comeuppance. They've outsmarted me.
Oh my God, it's a dead hooker. Look, it's another dead hooker. Yeah, God, that scene is amazing. And one more thing that you probably don't get asked about a ton. And I remember watching this series, just marveling that it was actually on anywhere, much less VH1. Late World with Zach.
Yeah.
Remembering correctly, you were a regular cast member on. My buddies and I, this was in the middle of a pretty consistent 3-year bender in college, but we would watch that show I forget if it was a nightly show, it was on a couple of times a week. We couldn't believe that VH1 had greenlit this show. It was just such an insane brand of comedy, headlined by Zach Galifianakis, of course. I would assume you guys had a lot of fun just really messing with whatever limits or rules were in place at VH1 at that time.
Yeah. It's clear that Zach has an original voice and, they want to let him do what he wants to do. I'm pretty sure my buddy Greg Fitzsimmons was the showrunner, and VH1 had low stakes. They're trying to break in a new format, and so they're going to experiment. And they probably didn't have a number of producers that were capable of giving notes, so I think they got some leeway with that one, right?
Yeah.
Was it 3 years, really?
No, it was only a season, I believe.
Okay, probably 12 episodes.
Something like that. I honestly don't remember, other than that we watched every episode and we had VHS taped at the time because this is pre-DVR, and would watch the repeats after it was canceled a season in or whatever.
Yeah, it was completely unique. And there's chaos too. And there's anarchy veiled all in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure the network is looking for, well, we need to reach a broad audience. Let's, do this or this. I'm sure they didn't have, I don't know if they'd ever done that type of show at all, like a talk show. So they didn't know what they're doing, And so I think they had a commitment for a certain number of episodes, and they were just going to let it happen.
I'm glad you mentioned your friendship with Greg Fitzsimmons. I had the pleasure of speaking with him a couple months ago before he headlined at Rogan's Comedy Mothership. That is just, not only is he a world-class comedian, that is just an awesome dude. One of my all-time favorite conversations. That's really cool that you guys are boys.
Agreed, 100%. Just salt of the earth.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
And a fantastic comic.
Yeah. I mean,
Such a pro.
he's been at
Such
it
a
for
pro. Yeah.
for I want to say 4 decades at this point, 3.5 decades, and it shows. I mean, he is so comfortable on stage, just doing interviews like this, just like you are. I mean, he's been through it time and time again. Nothing catches him off guard.
Just puts it out there. He's patient. You guys are going to get it. Hang in there. Keep listening. Here it comes. And it keeps building on itself.
You were a part of season 3 of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And while a lot of people get to have altercations with Larry, very few get physical altercations, but you did so as Joseph after he complimented Mary's bosoms. Was that a lot of fun to get to shoot and wrestle around with Larry?
Oh, yeah. And the way that's shot, it's all improvised, but they've got, some outline of the scene of what they want it to begin and where they want it to go, right? So, I've been in improvisation for years, and so that was fun. And then Larry would kind of side coach you here or there and get where you wanted to go. So the best part is if I could crack up Larry, my day is made, right?
Did you get him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was very happy. A couple years later, we were at some award show, and we happened to be washing our hands in the bathroom at the same time. It was, hey, Joseph, I've often thought, what if we didn't get you? You were perfect. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Who cracks you up the hardest that you've either acted with regularly or have acted with on at least one occasion?
For acting. Well, it's always Will and Steve.
Yeah.
It's case by case, right?
Yeah.
Those are the big ones. If you got a good fun set, you're gonna have some laughs, but you don't improvise on every movie, because not every director is adept at adding a different process where he knows he's going to plug it in the editing room. So that's a different skill as well, knowing what you're looking for and whether it's going to add value to your movie. But did you ever see Extract?
Oh yeah, the Jason Bateman, Mila Kunis flick.
Mike Judge,
directed by Mike Judge. Yeah,
Mike Judge movie. So that was a completely different character for me, and so the fact that I was able to crack up Kristen Wiig and Bateman was a fine thing to do.
You do mostly. Bateman's hilarious, by the way. Although I don't know if it shows in this conversation, I pride myself as a smartass, and he's maybe one of the great smartasses around right now. But obviously, you talked about this. People know you more for your comedic stuff, but you've done more than comedy. Do you have a serious role that you're most proud of?
Thank You for Smoking is pretty good, though it's a comedy too. There's a movie called Cheap Thrills that's very good. It is not for children, so no one under 17. It's a dark, twisted thriller with some dark comedic undertones, and it's just fantastic. It's just really good, and so that's more of a straight thing. So they've been few and far between. There was the show Bless This Mess, which offered a bunch of different looks, and it was right before COVID, and we're just starting to cook with gas. And the cast was wonderful. The writing was superior, but we shot our show on location, and so that cost a little more money. So we got trimmed. I was just like, this thing's going to run 10 years, and I'm going to be very happy. So that's too bad.
COVID, man. Speaking of things that have broken people, like the cell phone has, that broke a lot of people's brains, many of whom may not be coming back.
Yeah. We won't know for 10 years the actual result. Let's see. So my one daughter was graduating high school and didn't get to participate in that, right? My twins were graduating 8th grade, so they had an unsatisfactory closure. And then My daughter started freshman year, and what is that? And then for college, and then the twins started freshman year, and it's just like this. I don't feel like I'm starting anything. And I would say that probably has a lingering effect. You know, we'll know, and there's that fear that uh, they're way behind still. And I wonder from their point of view that they must think, what's the point? Because is the future that unstable? Climate change, the disharmony in the nation. Who do I listen to? What am I part of? What can I influence? All those things. And what's the point of going to school more? And what am I supposed to get a job and that's it? And the other thing that these apps or whatever social media has taught them, you need to be a millionaire or a billionaire using this platform.
Yep.
And that's not true.
Nope.
But so they're pursuing a non-skill to get more likes. Well, I'm not going to get a job. I'm just going to be famous.
It's not even 15 minutes of fame anymore. It's like 15 seconds of fame on TikTok. You go viral from jamming a spoonful of cinnamon in your mouth that you probably choke on. You gain a few more followers, and then you're back to that empty existence.
Then you're chasing it.
Yep.
Right. And, maybe they'll come to the realization that it's pointless. But in many of them, I would say in the back of their heads, maybe I'll just do that and be famous. Maybe they'll just come my way. But even the ones that have gained fame early, there's always a new person, There's all these young men that are cute with abs. And so they'll get tons of 12-year-old girls following them. But guess what? Every day, there's a new boy with abs. And that's probably not enough to hold their interest,
And in this age of AI, half of them aren't even real.
Talk about a danger.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get our arms around that.
I think the box is open, unfortunately.
Well,
the box was opened up and guardrails weren't put in place. So now it's about to turn into Vonnegut's Player Piano, where humans are doing the bare minimum to make sure the robots function.
And well, that was Harrison Bergeron, right?
What's that?
That book.
Yep, that's it. Wow, that's good memory there. That's it. Yeah. I think it was his first novel, and it doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion, especially with what is currently happening.
Yeah, because everyone has to be controlled and equal, and if you get out of line, they put them to death. There was a book a number of years ago written by Ray Kurzweil. It was called The Singularity. And then he did a documentary that was great. It's a little dated now, but he called it. He said, this thing used to be two buildings. And here it is. He said what they're looking to do eventually, and Elon Musk has already talked about it, is implanting something in your brain where you'll have all access to all information at all the time. Now, that sounds pretty good, but we already know it's corrupted because someone has control of what interest you get. Now, the good side is it could probably physiologically detect that first cancer cell. And so you could take care of that. So now you have longevity. Do you want to live to be 150?
Not necessarily.
How old were you when you got married?
35.
So you and your wife could be married for 120 years.
That would be the good part of living to 150 is what I'm
But
supposed to say.
they say the two things you don't want to do. You don't want to outlive your money, and you don't want to outlive your brain. Now, let's say these chips are able to keep the brain function alive, so you're still vital, but your body's not going to be there, and you're going to outlive your money.
A scary premise. Let's also think about this too, by the way. This technology, my phone is on the ground right now. This technology inevitably fails. So you either have to keep up with the technology, otherwise that technology that is a part of you is going to start going haywire.
What are you talking about, the Zoom?
I'm just talking about, like, if you own a phone for long enough, that phone stops working. So if you're not updating the technology inside your brain, the same thing's going to happen, conceivably.
Oh, right. And the new, oh shit, the next generations will be able to know what you're trying to independently think. And it may want to influence. Of course, it's going to try to influence you because it's going to be owned by multinational corporations.
Yep.
Because there's going to be somebody goes, you want to have success? Here's the path. I heard an interview a while back that said, so the next step is, so we got AI and it's, getting smarter every day. So the next step is AI robots. And they will be able to make them charismatic, smart, intriguing, with, all the best personality traits. And they will be gurus that people follow, because it can know how to touch you emotionally, and they will have the things that are charismatic, and they will tell you, here's the path to a better life. Teachers won't exist. What jobs are anybody going to have? They'll figure out a better way to shove out the fast food. You will think, I want to go through the drive-through 15 minutes before you go there, and then it's already there and you just pick it up. Well, you don't have to go. You send the car. What's everyone going to do?
We're just going to stay strapped to those VR headsets, I guess.
Well, I hope not. Those get boring. I bought my one for my daughter 2 Christmases ago, and she rarely uses it.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that Meta has been a resounding failure with by Facebook so far, but who knows? They'll continue tinkering with that technology too, and eventually get it right enough that people will be flocking in droves.
Well, there has to be a rebellion. So Kurzweil said that's what the war is going to be about. There are going to be enough people that go, no, that's wrong. You can't do that. And there are going to be a bunch of people who go, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And so he didn't exactly say what the war would be, but it's going to be a hell of a fight, and it should be. It's important that we remain organic without a chip in our head.
See, I think so, but I also worry that, considering how it only took a month into a pandemic for everybody to be at one another's throats, the technology is just going to put a t-shirt on social media and get us arguing about what color it is, and then we're fucked.
Yeah, it's a precarious time, that's for sure.
All right, last question, David, because this has been a fascinating, enlightening conversation, and I want to end on a positive note. I'm not going to ask you about your Chiefs, you lucky bastard. You've got Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback going forward. Every Super Bowl win, and there's probably going to be a bunch of them, are found money. So last question now. What is the key to happiness based on everything that we've talked about today?
Be present. and listen. And just keep repeating to yourself, peace. It's hard to do because we're always trying to get something done, or I'm trying to affect how another person thinks about me. But what's more important? How do I think about me? So if I can get to a place where my primary interest is listening, that then offers an opportunity to slow it all down and don't feel I have to respond or affect what another person is doing. I can acknowledge it, because then, what's the best thing I can do? Acknowledge you without adding to it. If I say, hey, man, this has been a great interview, right? So in a way, I'm influencing it, how you feel about me. Now, if I say, hey, man, it's been great to talk to you, a little difference there, right? Hey, I'm glad we got to connect. But then part of our desire, right, is I want to get you to like me. So say, great interview, right?
Yeah.
But if I just said, hey, this has been great to talk to you, I appreciate it.
That's more of a throwaway line.
But it's truthful. And doesn't that make you feel better? All right, now here we go. I've enjoyed the interview. That's more neutral.
See, I feel like you saying great interview is you paying a compliment. You saying good talking to you is like asking somebody how their day is. Mm-hmm. Hey, how's your day going? In passing. You don't really care, but it's just something that you say when you encounter somebody, or in this case, when you end a conversation.
Right. And we also don't listen to it.
No, we don't.
Because we think it's not disingenuous. So we could go, well, how much of it do you want to hear? Generally good. There's some pitfalls and some triumphs. Tell me about one of your triumphs today.
Are you asking me, or are you saying generally speaking?
Sure.
I am in the process of starting 2 different jobs right now, David. One is a YouTube channel that focuses on sports and general entertainment talk called Texas Sports Unfiltered. Today, a week and a half into our existence, we launched a customized app that is available when you search our name in the App Store. Getting back to that technology now, I guess. In both the Apple and Android app stores. And so that's a pretty big W for us.
And did it roll out today?
Rolled out this morning, yeah.
How'd that make you feel?
Felt pretty damn good, because accomplishing stuff feels good that you put a lot of effort into.
Good for you.
How'd you win today?
I will be packing early so I don't have to do it in the morning in a rush. So I've been slowly, methodically accomplishing things that need to be done for a easy transition in the morning. And I answered a bunch of emails, and yeah, I think I'm prepared for tomorrow.
It's good. Getting yourself prepared is important. Whether you're talking about taking a multi-day trip to Austin, or getting yourself prepared for the inevitable war with the robots,
Yeah. I'd get my suitcase down below 50 pounds.
I have a problem with that now. My wife just bought me a huge suitcase, and it's fun to just throw as much stuff as humanly possible into it. And I took it to the airport when we went to Colorado, and it was like 60 pounds. So I had to load 10 pounds of stuff into my backpack.
Why do you think that happened? Because you didn't count the number of pairs of underwear you needed, or socks, or shirts, You just went overboard because it's big.
I started throwing shoes and weights. I mean, it was ridiculous what I was doing.
Weights.
I was the
You pack,
definition of George Carlin's stuff bit from so many years ago, where it was just like trying to put as much stuff in my suitcase as possible.
you packed weights?
Now, that was a bit of an exaggeration. I did pack my broadcasting equipment though, because of this channel that launched. I had to bring that with me. But yeah, I just had too much stuff in there. I started packing stuff for my family also. I mean, it wasn't all selfish necessarily, but there was also a weird, fun game going on of how much stuff I could put in my suitcase.
Yeah, I always throw it on the scale. Always overpack. You can always bring an extra suitcase for the tech stuff.
Oh, you throw it on the scale at home. That's a good idea. I'm gonna have to start doing that now.
Yeah, when I know that I've been too lazy to actually look and see how many, I don't need 8 pairs of underwear and socks. Well, I'll take some out.
Well, you may need 8 pairs of underwear in Austin if you're going to be here for 3 or 4 days, because you will sweat through at least 3 of those.
I'm not going outside.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man. He is David Koechner. You know who he is. He's an actor and a hilarious comedian. He's going to be at Cap City Comedy Club this weekend, a show on Thursday night, 2 shows Friday night, 2 shows Saturday night. Also doing office trivia with Todd Packer Saturday afternoon. There are still some tickets available, not a ton, some tickets available for most of those shows. So go to capcitycomedy.com for tickets and more info. David, I mean this when I say it, and I said it after I spoke with Greg Fitzsimmons a couple of months ago. That was one of my all-time favorite conversations. This is now in that category as well. Thank you so much for the time today, man.
I appreciate you. Kindred spirits, hail fellow well met.
Thanks to Gentleman Jesus for the intro and outro music. Hear more of his work at gentlemanjesus.com. Thanks to you for hanging out. For more of the show and to connect on social media, visit booksonpod.com. Talk to you next time on Books on Pod.